Nate Diaz was unable to emerge victorious in his boxing debut on Saturday. He suffers a unanimous decision loss to Jake Paul in their bout at American Airlines Center in Dallas. Diaz had his moments throughout this fight, but ultimately was not able to badly hurt Paul at any point in there. His volume got going late as perhaps Paul slowed down a little bit, but he had taken a substantial amount of damage leading up to that point, got hurt in the first round, got knocked down in the fifth round, and he really just didn't have the one-shot power in this fight to be able to hurt Paul and completely swing the momentum in his favor. So a disappointing outcome for him, but if you look at the money he made in this fight and just the overall situational, reputational gain he had through this matchup, leaving the UFC was a win under his terms, getting this fight under his terms another win. So I don't think he's sitting here too upset after the fact, and you could see that in his demeanor when he spoke to reporters at the press conference, when he spoke to me personally after the press conference. He wasn't about as good of spirits as you could imagine for someone in his position, but now you wonder what is next for him in the aftermath of this. He mentions wanting to rematch Paul, whether it's in boxing or mixed martial arts. The mixed martial arts things does seem to have some legs to it. Paul under contract with PFL to compete in MMA, and he said he is willing to put a $10 million offer on the table for Diaz to rematch him there. Diaz wants a co-promotion with his Real Fight Inc. company and PFL. I'm sure they would be open to that if they got the chance to have anything to do with a Nate Diaz fight. So maybe that's the way it goes, but if not, I could also see a rematch happening under the boxing rule set. It just remains to be seen whether they can negotiate that, but I think this fight was a massive success for all involved. I think people maybe think Diaz could take lessons away from this fight, his first professional boxing match, and apply them in fighting Paul again going forward. So we'll see how this all plays out for Nate Diaz, but he certainly has options if he wants to return to the UFC, as he alluded to many times in the lead up to this fight. There is potential fights for him there. A Dustin Poirier rebooking, the Conor McGregor trilogy if McGregor ever actually comes back to the UFC, and then there's a bunch of other fights they could probably make involving Nate Diaz. He is still a huge star, he is beloved, and anything involving him at this point is going to be significant. So I don't think he's got to be too upset after this. There is options going forward. It just remains to be seen exactly which one of those he decides to pick.